Let's have a look at placing objects within bump outs in the 3D tiny house designer. So let's say you have just added a bump out to your tiny house and you want to add something into the inside of this bump out. I'll show you how to do that. So first of all, if you want to place something into the bump out, you will want to get rid of this wall here and make a connection to the interior of the bump out. And the first thing you'll do, you'll go into the front end or the back end depending on where you have placed the bump out, and you'll click on the connect to interior option, and this will now add this interior part of the bump out to the tiny house, and the wall here has disappeared. So let's say for this example, of course we've got a kitchen here and this won't make a lot of sense, but let's say we want to add a shower into this little nook here. So you can do that by, let's say, grabbing a shower object, and I'll just grab this alcove shower object here. And first of all, I will make this a little bit wider, so I know that the interior of this bump out is 3'4", so I'll make the width of it 3'4" as well, like that. And now what you will see if you want to place objects into the bump out, if you're just using the gizmo, you will not be able to automatically move the object into this bump out. And that's just simply because the movement system of the 3D tiny house designer just picks up on the main rectangle of the shape of the tiny house, and it doesn't really understand that you want to place the object into this bump out here, as the movement space doesn't continue that far. But what you can do to go past that, you can simply use the dimension move tool that pops up and actually picks up on this space in between here. So let's say we have moved my shower here all the way as far as we can, and I'll click on this dimension here, type in 0, and then press enter. And now what you'll see, the shower has perfectly moved into this space here. One thing to keep in mind, when you have an object in the bump out, if you use the gizmo, it will snap back into the main movement space. So you'll just have to move it back into this space with the dimension move tool. However, because the gizmos with the arrows here are locked to specific axes, if you want to move it horizontally like this, you can use the sideways arrow here to move it from the left to right, because that way, because it is limited, it can't actually jump back into the main space of the interior. So this is how you would do that. Of course, this shower doesn't here really make sense because it's currently 6'6" tall and is kind of glitching into the loft. So I would just remove some height here. Actually, we'll probably need to bring it down to 6 feet like that. And now we have a shower that perfectly fits into the space. There we go. So just as one more example, we can do the same thing with any kind of cabinet as well. So I'll grab a cabinet like that. So we'll just grab a door cabinet like this. And without resizing it, I'll just move it into this space like that, and then we can move it to one side to understand how much additional space we need to add. So that, for example, we need to add 1'4" to fully fill in this gap, so we'll make this 3'4" like that, and then we'll use the dimension move tool to fully fill in the gap. There we go. So if you want to move it back a little bit this way here, for example, it would be tempting to use the dimension move tool, but again it would snap it back into the main space. But what you can do, you can just simply nudge it over using those dimension lines that pop up. So let's say we'll bring it down to 2 inches here like this, and this will slowly nudge it over, or we'll just reduce it to 6 foot and 8 inches here, for example, and it will slowly move it through like that. So there you go. That's how you would place objects into the bump outs in the 3D tiny house designer.